All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. I've got a good one lined up today. I've got someone that I'm going to be interviewing today. He is very successful in his own right, has done some amazing things in the sales world, and been someone that I've looked up to, and I'm excited to have him on the podcast. Casey, how are we doing, man?
What's up, brother? So good to see you, man. Like I said, super stoked for this. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Well, Casey, obviously, like I always talk about sales and fitness, and somehow I correlate the two. But I want to start with your story a little bit and just talk about kind of, I guess, some of the key points that you would say coming up through your life and kind of, I guess, give us a recap, man, of a little bit about Casey and what made you who you are today.
Yeah, for sure. Just we'll take it way back. I was born. My mom had me at 16. Me and my twin brothers. Had a fun, fulfilling upbringing. Had uncles that were 10 years old when I was born. So really like cousins. Yeah, it really shaped me who I was. Watching my mom work 2, 3 jobs growing up, and dropping out of high school to be able to provide for the family and, end up going back and getting your GED, stuff like that. But yeah, just going from there and then just having a huge support system for my family, have a huge family, super, super close to this day. That helped with our upbringing. But with that being said, though, fell like massively in love with sports. I think obviously most successful people in sales or people that have had, good careers are typically someone that has sports and athletic backgrounds. Played all the sports you can imagine, right? Baseball, basketball, football, growing up. And, I'm, thankful for our mom had the opportunity to, be out, still play all those sports, even though that we didn't have a crazy, amount of financial means. And you kind of flash forward to high school, end up choosing football and played that and at a high level in Seattle, Washington with my brother. And then we ended up actually playing collegiate football. So end up getting an offer from a Division II school in Canada, had some decent success our first year, and then end up walking on to the University of Idaho. So anyone who's been through, the walk-on experience to a Division I university, understand it's not easy. You're typically overlooked. You have to earn everything that you're given. You got to do 50 to 100% more than everyone else just to even get a shot. So I think that's what really implemented and instilled like the grittiness and the self accountability and the discipline it takes to not only be successful in sales but be successful in life and sports. With just not having a scholarship and not having an opportunity to have school paid for and having to really grind it out and I just kind of take accountability and do it yourself. So
It's awesome. So when you were playing football, what did you study? Did you finish college? Like, what did that look like?
yeah, so it's really important to my mom that we finished college. No one in our family's ever graduated college before. So we did finish college. I got a degree in finance and economics. So I double majored there. I graduated college in 3 years. So we had the opportunity to basically get our associate's degree in high school. So I got my 2 year degree in high school, and I was able to double major in 3 years. So with the walk on schedule, I went to school during COVID. So it was really challenging. I still to this day have 4 years left eligibility that I'll probably never use.
Come back out, dude.
I know. I wish sometimes I kick myself for moving on, but yeah, I
Yeah.
finished school and I technically was a sophomore when I graduated as far as athletically, and I just as a 5'10" white boy playing safety, I don't think I was going to make it to the league. So decided to try to jumpstart into my career and start making money and try to be self efficient and start to captivate everything that I dreamed of doing. I've always been like an entrepreneur. I would in college to pay the bills, I'd be flipping shoes, I'd be, flipping couches, stuff like that. Like just kind of always had an entrepreneur heart. When it came to an opportunity where, either stay a couple more years in college or and keep paying for tuition because I'm a walk on or take the next step into, a career, I decided to go that route.
Okay. Got it. So you decide to pivot, and is that kind of where your career started, or what did you end up pivoting to, and what led you to that next thing that you did?
Yeah, I think most people can relate heavily to this. My family didn't, like I said, didn't have a lot of financial literacy. My mom started to excel and started to self-educate. She finally went to school and things like that. And so, she started to get more adequate in the financial literacy area, but not many people have. Like I said, no one graduated college, anything like that. So of course, when I graduated college, everyone was just telling you, like everyone, right? Take the safe route, go get a 9 to 5 job. So I initially got a job working for a construction company or like their operations side, doing their marketing and things like that. Had a great salary, and it was like base pay plus commission. But yeah, I didn't feel like that was where I didn't think that aligned with my, my vision. I didn't think that was going to help me get closer to my goals, making 5 grand a month. And so
Mhm.
within 6 months, I was able to buy my first house. And so once I bought my first house, then I basically pivoted into sales, because it's really challenging to buy a house when you're in, 1099, there's so many
Yeah.
different restrictions you need. And so once I bought my first house with a W-2, at 22 years old, then I finally made the transition to sales full time. And for me, all I've ever sold was solar. So I got right into solar sales in Seattle, Washington, with a company called Lumio. So most of us might know.
Yep. Okay. So you were doing construction, is that correct?
So
At
not like a
first?
tool belt,
Or
but I was basically
okay,
working for a construction company, helping with their marketing. So basically
got it.
helping, their subcontractors buy material and things through their website. And so it's kind of like in their marketing development side of things. I had a really good, gal I found on Indeed who helped me find that job. And at the time, it was, I was having interviews after interviews, couldn't find nothing. So kind of just found anything I possibly could. And luckily for my degrees, they did hire me fresh out of school. So I didn't have the tool belt on, nothing like that. It wasn't laborious work, but it was for a construction company.
Okay. And then I'm curious, you bought a house at 22. That's freaking savage. That's awesome. Tell us like how did you have that as a huge goal? Like was that like your first like, hey, I'm going for that? And was that a big accomplishment for you to achieve that?
Yeah, 100%. My mom's a savage, so she, was like, "Hey, we're not going to give you any handouts over here." I have little sisters, so at the time they were 4 and 7. So when came back home from college, I still have, essentially toddlers running around the house, and so she's just like, "Hey, you guys are, at the time 21 years old, like you guys are grown adults." Me, and by you guys, I mean me and my twin brother. And so
Yeah.
basically, she just gave us an ultimatum, like, you guys can sleep here for 6 months, but after that, you're either going to rent a house or own a house. And I've always, understood that it's more financially responsible to own a house. So at the time, I was working 2 jobs. I was actually selling solar on the weekends and at nights, and I was working my full time job during the day. Luckily for me, my job was remote, so I'd basically work from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., then go knock from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, and then go work on the weekends. And then my brother, who also was involved in buying the house, he was working a 9 to 5 as well. He's working at so he worked 9 to 5, and then he'd go work at Amazon warehouse from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then he'd rinse and repeat. So at the time, we were both working 2 jobs, saved up a ton of money because she wasn't asking for any rent. So saved up, about 50 grand within that 6 months, and then was able to put a down payment on a house. But yeah, with that 100%, that was our only goal. We knew we were not going to go rent a house, and so yeah, found any way we possibly could. And our way was just working numerous jobs to be able to save up capital to be able to accomplish that. But yeah,
Yeah.
to answer your question, it was very fulfilling for
Yeah.
sure. Our mom, has really instilled, a lot of belief in us that we were capable of things. Same with a lot of other close family members. So, when other people around you are supporting you, it's so much easier to go and see a bigger vision for yourself. So with that being said, yeah, so it was really important for us to own a house. That was like our main priority coming out of school, is how quickly can we get into real estate. Now we have a couple rental properties. My mom is very involved in real estate as well. And so it's kind of instilled that, having that asset was really important.
That's awesome. Where did so this ability to like work super hard and have two jobs and do all these things, how much would you say that came from your upbringing slash being a walk on slash pushing through that? And what did you like? How did you instill that, or what did you learn? How did you learn that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, I think it started at such a young age. Like, working multiple jobs was not foreign to our family dynamic. My mom, when she was initially upbringing, she was working 3 jobs. She would be working at a restaurant at night. She working in a 9 to 5, and then she would clean offices on the weekend. And so we just kind of saw that. We're constantly having to be self-efficient because she's constantly gone. Having to do our own thing. So we had to grow up and mature a lot quicker. And for a good reason. She did that on purpose to let us know that, hey, like, I was able to figure it out. I was able to have kids at 16, let alone, you're, 16, 17, 18 years old and you have, a better life than I could have imagined, but at the same time, like, it's still really important. She instilled like, hey, it's still important to go make it out yourself and figure out yourself and not take handouts from somebody else. Like no one's going to come save you. So it's up to you. If you want to live the life that you want to live and you say you want to live, like you got to go earn that. So we learned that at a very young age that, things are only hard temporarily.
Yeah.
But if you sacrifice, short-term gratification for long-term gratification, I'm a walking blueprint of that. Sacrifice a lot of my college time, like during college, had a full-time job while being a walk-on, so didn't really get a chance to party and hang out with friends doing those things. But now flash forward, 26 years old, I've thankfully and gratefully have accomplished a lot more things than my peers because I took the time in the beginning, starting in high school, college, to instill that work ethic and instill that grit and independence. Now that I'm, where I'm at now, it's just rolled over and I've gotten a lot of experience now on kind of what it takes to be, self-sustainable and self-successful for sure.
That's awesome. Sounds like your mom is an incredible person. Taught
Yeah,
you a
she's a
lot of good
dad.
things. That's awesome. Wow. So when it comes to like the partying and in college, I'm curious, what was it that kept you on like that? Hey, I have a bigger goal. I have a focus here. Because a lot of people would say, well, why not just enjoy college and enjoy life? And, you didn't have fun in college and that sucks. Like, what would you say to that? Or what was your mindset there?
Yeah, and that's not to say, like, having fun in college is a bad thing, right? Like, to each their own,
Hmm.
right? Like, and to get vulnerable, like, I grew up without a father, single mom, but, like, my father was an alcoholic, so it just was never really something that was appealing to me, right? It was never something that I really was attracted to because my whole life was, it was really instilled that that wasn't good, and that's the reason I didn't have both parents in my life, so it was just, from, the beginning, it just never was something that was really attractive to me, so the times I would do it, I don't drink, I don't do nothing like that. And so it just wasn't as fun, and everyone's loose and drinking and stuff like that. It's a different environment. But when you're sober in a party, anyone who's been there understands it's not it's not that fun. So I only had to do it a couple of times to realize like this is just not for me. And then like I said, I had huge dreams. Me and my brother, from a young age, middle school, high school, would just we shared a bedroom till we were 14 years old. So there was a lot of conversations, that happened late night conversations about what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish. And it was so easy because, we had someone to hold each other accountable, right? Most people, they go to college and they're by themselves. They don't know anyone. So that's how they socialize and communicate and build, relationships. Where for me, like I kind of have a built in best friend. So I was very, very fortunate. Like I said, not everyone has that luxury. But because I also have a built in accountability partner, when one of us is lacking or one of us is not. For football, we walked on, for example, out at 5 a.m., running to the gym at 5 a.m., and then going back to the gym at 9 p.m. and just doing 2-a-days, meal plan, meal prep, living together. Like, there's just so many people, someone that's accountable to you. So, like, that kind of things, it's like, I can't go to the gym at 5 a.m. like I've been doing every single day if I'm going to go party till 4 a.m., right? It's just not
Yeah.
possible, right? And so, because our lives were relatively at the time structured compared to our peers, I couldn't afford to go take, just to go do things like that all the time at least, because I'd be sacrificing my next day. And I knew I had bigger goals, especially being a walk on and trying to constantly prove myself. Not only am I trying to get successful in life, but I'm also, the dreams of the NFL were for sure in the cards when I first got into school. So it's saying, hey, like, if I really want to do this, I've got no money, I've got no scholarship, like I've got to go earn these things. Like I can't afford to do the things that the guys who are getting paid to go to be here are doing. I didn't have that luxury, which is, I'm super, super grateful for.
Oh, wow. Dang, that's powerful. That's an interesting take, man. It's like your definition of fun is like, well, I was having fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that was my like that isn't fun, drinking and partying. That's a great way of looking at it. One of my favorite quotes from Ed Milet, actually, I believe he was the one that said it. It's like winning is more fun than fun is fun. And I'm
It-
like, that is the truth.
when you look at
That's what
now,
I'm
like
hearing from you.
a lot of guys will, hit me up. Oh, what are you doing? You're crushing it, right? Stuff like that. And I'm incredibly grateful for those guys. And there's a lot of people are good people,
Hmm.
but it's just be like, hey, like, it's like that whole thing, like champions are recognized in the ring, but like people don't see what they do, all the hours they put into it. Like right now, I'm just simply being recognized for all the work I put in the last, I would say decade, which is crazy to say because I'm still young, but like
Yeah.
literally the last decade, all the work that I put in to be where I am right now. I mean, in a high rise in Long Beach, California, I'm living a life that I couldn't have imagined at 26 years old. It's because of all the work that was done in the dark, when no one was, watching and no one was, congratulating you on your success. Now flash forward, they think it's an overnight success, but anyone who's done anything at a high level or anything worth, noting is understands that it's not an overnight success. And there's a lot of things that you do, when no one's watching and no one's holding you accountable, and your own discipline and accountability is the one that, sets the tone there.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so going back to or kind of moving forward with your story, man. So you have an opportunity with solar. That was the first thing you kind of started selling. What happened? What did that look like, and how did that go at the beginning, I guess, in terms of how did it go?
Yes. We knocked on one of the and it's obviously door to door. We knocked in one of the most unordinary markets probably in the country. We were knocking in Seattle, Washington, where anyone thinks solar, that's the last place we're going to be selling solar, right? And
Yeah.
so not only is there no sunlight hours, but people are paying 9 cents a kilowatt hour, and we're only selling loans. So
Yikes.
it was a different sale. Every single person that was going solar, it was an investment. It was, 60, 70 to 100% more on their bill. So I have $100 bill and making a $200 bill. And so I think that's what really created, the salesman in me, or like, the person I was able to, have the persuasion skills, because, not only you're having someone that goes solar and takes out a loan and things like that, but you're having them actually increase their bill, which is, typically unordinary for solar, right? The whole idea is a decrease on a bill you're never going to cancel, right? And
Absolutely.
so, believe it or not, like I actually had some instant success. Not everyone can attest to that. My brother can't. But I had some instant success. My first month in door to door, I made 18 grand. I got 10 set closes just working part time. So just working nights, just working weekends. And so once I made that money, basically I made what I made in 4 months in 1 month, do working part time. Within 60 days, I decided to basically sever ties with my last job and go all in. But yeah, I was one of those guys, that luckily, gratefully had some instant success. Had some really, really talented, closers and things like that did a really good job making sure I got paid right away, and had some, incredible leaders and role models at the time that was able to, show me what they've done and show me the ropes. But yeah, Seattle, Washington, rain, sleet, snow, doesn't matter.
Mm.
I've got looking back at pictures, I've got, pictures of me knocking the pouring rain, being wet as a dog, going door to door. And it's just, it's one of those things. Like I've always been a guy like, if not me, then who? And
Yeah.
so, seeing other guys in the office that were making the money I wanted to make, even though I was new, I was just convinced myself, like that's how I've always been, is like, there's no way I can do this, because if these guys are doing it, like there's just no way. Like there's just absolutely no way I can't do it. And so yeah, just kind of had that like conviction. Like anyone who does sales at a really high level, it's just they're incredibly convicted on the product they sell. And luckily for me, I was just incredibly convicted that I will go make money. So it happened to be the
Mm.
vehicle that I was going to make money in, but I was like, hey, you guys say it makes sense. You guys are getting people that are stoked, texting you that they're really grateful for you coming by. So like, hey, the product must make a lot of sense, and you're making a lot of money, and that's what I want to do. And I'm unfortunately probably unhealthily driven by money, and so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go make a lot of money, because you guys are doing it, and there's just no excuse for me not to go make it happen. And same thing with, it's really correlated to my football experience, right? Like you
Yeah.
guys are playing, you guys are doing this, you guys are doing that, but I don't think you're any more talented than me. We all are the same organism, right? It's just some people work harder than others. And so I was going to be like, hey, at the end of the day, like I'm just going to know I'm going to outwork everyone else, and the results will follow. So I'm very input driven. That's always how it's been. It's like as long as I am apply myself, and I show up every day, I'm consistent, I'm disciplined, the results and the output will follow. So yeah, had some instant success right away for sure.
Wow. That's such a good mindset. If one person can do it, if one guy's doing it, why can't I? Right? Like, and the ability to just believe in yourself when most people would wait until they have success to believe in themselves, or it's like the whole, you got to believe first. How did you get that belief first in yourself? Is that just something you've always had? Where does it come from?
Yeah, I think just like I said, having a really strong support system, right? I had, like I said, my uncle at the time, when I was growing up, he was 10 years old. So he was 12 years old. So he's kind of still a kid, but, he was like one of our biggest fans. We were playing football. He always believed we were the best. Our grandpa as well, like always believed we were the best. even though we're like pops, like we're not like that. We don't run a 4.2 and stuff like that. And he was like, "You guys are faster than deer. You guys can jump out the gym." We're like, "Oh, all right." And you start when people start telling you the things and they believe in you and just like as leaders, right? Like when you believe in sometimes you're gonna believe in someone more than they believe in themselves. But once you continue doing that, that's gonna trick them into believing in themselves the way that you believe in them. So I think having a strong support system and then like just just in the age of social media, with the comparison theory and all those things, like you just see people that are your age making, life-changing money, and it's the same thing. It's like, dude, there's just no way that I won't be able to figure it out some way. So I've tried everything, drop shipping,
Yeah.
stock trading, like I said, reselling. Like
Mhm.
I've done it all. I've tried pretty much anything to make
Mhm.
money. And so sales just happened to be the avenue that ended up sticking and being successful. But since I was in high school, I was trying every side hustle I could possibly find. The old you go on YouTube, how to make money, how to make money in 2024, whatever it was. It's like I was trying it all. And then eventually, you run to sales videos and stuff like that, see people making life changing money. And so it's just, I wanted a different path, right? We grew up in apartments, and things like that. And it's just like, I don't want that to be the life I live, knowingly that there's other people that are my age from my same situation that are accomplishing things at a higher level. So it's not like they had a different upbringing, a better upbringing. They didn't have the silver spoon either, and they still figured it out. So it's like if I don't figure out this life and I don't make money in this life or I don't accomplish things I want to in this life, it's no one else's fault but my own. Right. So just kind of having that sense of like reality. It's like, hey, if I don't succeed or I don't do the things I want to do, I have no one to blame. I have no one to blame but myself. I think we live in unfortunately, a society of a lot of victim mindsets and a victim mentality where it's always external factors are the reason I don't succeed, right? And so it's
Mhm.
always someone else's fault, it's the market's fault, it's the industry's fault. And that's why it's like a lot of people say like, solar's dead, it's this, it's that. It's like it's only dead if you believe that, right? It's like there's still people making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in solar. It's not about the product you sell, it's about the conviction you have in the product you sell. And then just stop blaming external factors and just going to figure it out, right? Someone out there is figuring it out, someone out there is making money. It's just up to you if that someone's gonna be you, right? And that's why I'm a firm believer on. It's just like someone's doing it at a really high level. It's just going to be up to you if you're going to make excuses or you're going to be that same someone.
Amen. The beliefs that you hold with things really, really matter, right? I mean, if you don't believe in what you're selling, if you don't believe people are making money, how are you going to make money? Like it's near impossible in that aspect. That's a very, very good point. Okay, I'm curious then. So you had success. You're like, all right, I'm going all in on solar. Like, let's go. You're in Seattle. You're pushing through. What did you just keep going with solar? What ended up happening? I don't know. Kind of finish this out here with your story.
Yeah. So in Seattle, was out there in Washington for a year and a half with that
Mhm.
company. And, at the time was getting a ton of momentum, didn't know anything about, sales. Like I didn't really understand solar. Like, anyone in
Yeah.
Washington just understands like you're kind of tucked in the corner. Like you don't hear about anything. So I've never really been out the state too much. Like I've traveled here and there, but never lived anywhere else. And so that was just kind of all I knew. And then, gratefully, actually, we had some leadership changes. Our leaders actually ended up going to a different company, and within a year, we actually got an opportunity to manage a team. So we got an opportunity, me and my brother, to manage a team. And then in Washington, it just didn't end up working out for whatever reason. And to make a long story short, we basically got the keys to a team, and then within a week, it was handed to someone else. We got voted as, they basically our leaders left. All the team members basically voted that me and my brother were to be the ones that step in, and then we went on a vacation, we came back and someone else was leading the team. They thought we weren't all in and we weren't bought in. It was a very
No.
interesting story, but yeah, so we were super stoked. We're like, okay, hey, this is our opportunity to go and lead and be, being in sports. Like we've always been that leadership, just always been a leadership type of guy. And so we got the team stripped away from us literally within a week of having it. And so that was basically our opportunity saying, okay, hey, like what do we want to do here? Do we want to just go be, sales reps under this guy that, I don't think is an adequate leader? No disrespect to him. Like he's a really good guy and we're still friends to this day. Or do I want to go and try something new? So what we end up doing is we basically told that company at the time that, hey, like we're going to go leave. We're going to go somewhere else unless you give us another opportunity. And so that opportunity was they allowed us to open up Arizona market. So we actually went to Phoenix, Arizona, packed our stuff and drove down to Phoenix and moved out of the state for the first time. So we ended up renting out our house, moved out the state, and that was our first experience essentially being on our own in a place that we were unfamiliar with. So, continuing on, we built out this team at that company. Company started seeing some rocky waves, red line issues, stuff like that. Pay wasn't as good as we thought it was. We start networking with other guys from different companies and start realizing that maybe we're not in the best opportunity. We end up jumping to another company that I'm at right now, running a team in Illinois, then blitzing Arizona, blitzing Oregon, and then we end up running a team in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and then now flash forward 4 years later, and we're in California. So
Nice. Nice. Okay. So you got some leadership opportunities. You took it and you started running teams and made some pivots to Phoenix. And that's kind of, and then obviously now you're still running a team. Where did you say you're running the team at?
yeah, so right now I'm California. So
In California.
After Phoenix, we run a small team, 12, 15 guys. Then we went and blitzed Illinois when Illinois was the greatest thing ever. So we crushed it. We did about 100 accounts with just 10 guys. So we absolutely obliterated Illinois. And then
Let's go.
from my first year in management, by year two, we had run a 1,400 account organization. So went from never running a team to being a regional manager at the company I'm at within basically 18 months. Had a 60-man sales force in Columbus, Ohio. Like you did about 1,500 accounts in Columbus, Ohio. And then the pay and the install timelines were just taking too long. It just wasn't, we weren't really seeing the fruition of our labor, working, 60, 70-hour weeks. And so we've heard this thing about California this, California that, all this money in California. So again, just like, our personalities are, we decided to take a leap of faith to California and just move the whole team out here. So basically pivoted from a market we had a ton of success in to a market that we knew nothing about. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So we went from 60 guys to start the year, and I've left with like 10. So we're just in a very big rebuild because California is a challenging market, especially when you're going from an Ohio where it's a very soft market. You don't get paid a ton, but it's a very soft market, very easy to get deals, very easy to get appointments. And then you go to California, which is, been a challenging market even for some of the best. So yeah, it's a great learning experience for me. It's just like essentially my first down year. And so super excited and super grateful for the opportunity to prove to myself that I can go and do it again and that I can go repeat what I've already, showed myself I'm capable of doing.
That's awesome. So I want to go back where you went from a rep to leadership to continuing to build teams to, obviously just like continuing to grow and grow and grow. How did you do that? Number one. And what do you think it took for you to kind of, because there are a lot of people just stay as a rep or, they don't really get into leadership. Like what were the traits that you had or what was your mindset in like, hey, I can lead, I can do this and kept climbing and you said in like a year you went from a rep to like managing essentially. So like talk to me about that and what was your mindset and how did you get there?
Yeah, so it's just I started to understand the ways people make money, right? Like I started to understand how this works, right? The CEO will always make more money than the sales representatives who typically are working harder. And so I understand it's more there's a couple ways to make money. You can recruit, you can set, you can close, or you can manage. And so I started to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to be able to be the most efficient with my time, not go work 100 hours a week and grind myself to death, but still go make more money and continue to accelerate that growth. And so I just kind of took, the ownership of, like a football team, like the huddle, right? Like just kind of took ownership and just said, hey, like no one's gonna sit there and say, hey, buddy, you ready to lead? You want the keys to the castle, right? You got to kind of go earn that. You got to go prove like why no one else was more deserving of that than yourself. So, from right when I got in, because I saw a lot of success right away, like I started taking on like people on like shadows, like on the doors and running extracurricular activities and speaking up in meetings and giving my 2 cents. And so I started to make it very, very clear. You can tell who in the office are the leaders type pretty quickly, right? Those are people that speak up, the people that speak their mind, the people that have, new insightful information. So kind of took that right away and just understand like if I want to excel in this job, I could be a sales rep forever, but like there's a cap amount how you can make and the impact you can have, right? Like end of the day, like money is important for sure. And it's very important to me, but it's also about impact. one of the biggest reasons why I got into management is I wanted to, if I'm going to bring my friends in and bring in the people that I care about and say, hey, this is such a great opportunity. Well, I want to be the one that is going to basically deter whether they have success or not because I'm the one leading them. I'm the one training them. I'm the one giving them that opportunity rather than, hey, you're my best friend, join this opportunity and you're going to get trained by someone else who might not care as much about you as I do. Right. And so, to answer, your question, kind of flash forward how we are able to get into leadership and how we were able to have, a decently successful career so far was we got a really, really good team. We had a really, really good, solid foundation of 4 or 5 of some of our best friends that just knew that, hey, like I trust these guys that, they trust me. And they knew that the decisions we made, whether it was going to Arizona, I was going to Oregon, I was going to Illinois, Ohio, and all these, like, all these decisions we made, they knew it was within their best interest in mind, right? It wasn't all about me and
Yeah,
it wasn't all about my best interest in mind. It was us also thinking about them and trying to put them in a position to succeed. So, through these moves, we moved about 5 times. We only lost about 2 or 3 reps through all of those location, movals. So like every single person, they were living in states that they've never even been in, simply in blind trust to us, right? Just because, you know, the faith that they had in us, and we're incredibly grateful for that. But yeah, without a strong leadership, a strong core group, that would have never been possible, right? It's impossible to do something like that yourself. Obviously, I had my brother, but then I also had some really, really solid guys that just saw the vision very clearly as much as we did. So it's easier to recruit to that, easy to build on that, easy to retain on that when there's multiple people that are all trying to accomplish the same goal, same vision, stuff like that.
that's awesome. Yeah, you're able to pivot and you're able to lead, and I feel like leaders are able to bet on themselves and continue to make pivots over and over again. And when things happen or things have to shift and you got to do it quick and you got to do it fast, and if you're not a leader, you're going to lose people.
Yeah.
People aren't going to stick around if you don't pivot, and that's amazing. And it sounds like your guys trusted you because you had done that over and over again, which is huge. I'm curious. So I was looking at some of your content, and I had something, you said something that really, really was good. So you said it's not a numbers game, it's a skill game. And you talked about like how if your manager's up here telling you that you just got to double your doors, if you're knocking 100 doors, just do 200, just do 300. You're like, nah, it's a skill game, guys. Like, so let's hear like why is it a skill game and not just a numbers game? And what did you mean by that? Because I thought that was a super interesting take.
Yeah, I just think that, people just assume that the multiplication of your outputs or like deals or volume appointments right now is just, it's directly correlated to the multiplication of you working harder, working more hours, right? But what a lot of people
Hmm.
don't understand is in order to see the success of working more hours, like I have to also get better, right? Because if I'm not getting better and I'm simply, it's like football, right? And it's very correlated to football. And when I tell this analogy to my sales representative, just hits because a lot of our guys are athletes, but it's like going and just playing more games and hoping to get better in the game, right? Like if I play 100 games, maybe I'll start getting better. It's like, no, it's about what you do in the 100 practices to then go prepare for the one game, right? And that one game, you're gonna have a lot of success because you put in so much time on your own, right? Like I just remember when I was coming up and coming and playing football, it's like the times I was getting better is when I was going to the gym by myself at 5 a.m., and working out by myself and doing things that weren't being asked of me, right? Like if you just do the things that are being asked of you, which is just show up, work, during the day, knock during the day, and then knock on the weekends sometimes, and then just keep doing that over and over again. You never do extracurricular activity to get better. You're only going to see limited results. Yeah, you'll get better over time, of course, because you're in the field. But the people that are really successful, they take the time outside of the job and what's asked of them to work on their craft, do the role plays, do the sales trainings, do the YouTube videos. So that way, when they do put in time and they do work harder, they actually see an expedited amount of results and success. So it's both, right? It's a sales game and a numbers game for sure. But in my opinion, I believe it's a skill game first. And then once you have the skills and you've mastered the craft of sales, persuasion, things like that, questioning, asking, then it becomes a numbers game because it's now saying, hey, instead of getting an appointment every 20 doors, in a deal every 20 doors, I get a deal every 5 doors. Well, then if I go knock 20 and I do go work hard, well, now I'm going to get 4 deals, right? And that's how you go and do it is how can I, and that's, I'm a big like KPI tracker, and just understanding like, what are my numbers? It's like how many doors that take to get a set, take to get a deal, take to get an install, and so once you start to understand that, the whole goal is how can I shrink that? And you don't shrink that typically by working harder, at least not at the beginning. You shrink that by getting better, right? Because there's a ton of opportunities, and you'll talk to first year reps. It's like, oh, Casey, like if you would have knocked that door, you would have got the appointment, right? Or you would have gotten the deal, or you would have closed that deal. And it's like, okay, well, that should be a self reflection that it doesn't matter how hard I work. Then it's like I've got to get better to make sure that the opportunities I do get, I am capitalizing on. Because if not, I've got to go and do way, way more opportunities, getting way in front of way more clients just to get the same results as someone who is 5 times more skilled as me gets in 5, in a day. It takes me a week to achieve, right? Then that person that is accomplishing that in a day, now they go work a week, they see a huge explosive growth to their results, right? So it's definitely both, right? You can't be super skilled but never work, right? Of course, right?
Mhm.
Like, that's obviously rhetorical, but like you can't also go to work and not be skilled and expect results either. So you have to first get the skill. Once you have the skill, then it's the sky's the limit. And, especially in an uncapped commission job like solar, then it really is a correlation of how much work you put in. So they're very correlated. But in my personal opinion, anyone that sees a lot of success early on is because they put so much time mastering their craft, so much time getting skilled before they go and dive in working 50, 60 hours a week, because that'll only get you so much better. That'll only get you like 0.5% better, where maybe going your skills getting you two, right? It's just, it's a law of multiplication rather than law of addition, right? That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, that's so good. And I don't think enough people talk about the skill part. It always is just work harder, just grind. Obviously you're right. Like you have to be somewhat working hard. You cannot just work on skill and never do the thing. But I completely agree with that. And I totally agree that there's a lot of people that push the whole narrative of working harder. And I got in that loop of, oh, I just got to work harder. And you really do waste a lot of time, because if you would have taken an hour that day to build a skill set, like you said, the multiplication of that over the next week, month is going to be just compounding, and it never stops, right? Which
When
is so huge.
it's like, you're really big in fitness. It's the same thing, right? If I don't know how to work out, I didn't get a nutritional coach, or I didn't get a personal training, I can go to the gym, but if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't know how to count my calories, if I don't know how to count my macros and all these things, I'm going to see very limited results. I know guys that go to the gym every single day, like clockwork. They're very consistent, but they look the same, right? It's because you never took the time to learn the skill on how do you track my calories? How do I actually work out? What are like muscle groups I need to train to actually see growth? Right? So like even myself, I took it upon myself. I know I've worked out my whole life. And shout out to my personal trainer, Christian Borgia. I took the time to actually pay for a personal trainer when I felt like I know how to work out, because he actually he's accumulated the skill to then, give it to me on how to track my calories, how to be in a calorie surplus when I want to gain weight, how to be in a calorie deficit when I want to lose weight and get more lean, how to actually build muscle, how to target the right muscle groups, right? Like it's just like I've been working out my whole life, and like I've seen very stagnant results. As soon as I start working out with him, within a year, I see catapulting results that I've seen the last 5 years, right? It's because he took the time to learn a skill. And if you don't know the skill, you got to pay someone to learn the skill, right? And that's why mentorship and things like that, I believe, are very important, because if I don't want to take the time to learn a skill, well, I've got to pay someone who's taken the time to learn a skill. So that way it can expedite my learning curve.
Yeah. And going on that fitness narrative here, what's funny about that is you find someone who's skilled in something. For example, I always tell people I only train 3 times a week. And they're like, "Yeah, that's bull crap." And I'm like, "No, no, no, like I want to spend more time working and making money." So like I've gotten to a place where it's like, dude, I only spend 3 hours a week. That's it. And like, it's a skill set that it's like once you, like you said, like you have these compounding results where it's like now I don't have to, grind it out in the gym or go every day like these people that are literally just on a treadmill doing
Done
nothing.
with 3 hours
And
a
it's like,
day, and you see no
yeah, it's like
results.
boom, 3 hours a week and that's it, right? Like how does someone do that? Well, it's skill set, it's knowledge, like you said, and it's just like obviously time as well and learning. But if you can expedite your results and learn from someone who has put in that time and put in that effort, I mean, I totally agree. It's only going to help you, reduce that time that you actually have and the skill set that you need. That was a great analogy. I completely agree with that. That answered my question because I was very curious about that because I know people always say it's a numbers game, and it is, but it's also a skill set game,
To a degree,
100%.
right? To a degree. It
Yeah,
definitely is.
exactly.
You can't be, you know, a savage salesperson or been in the industry forever and not work and expect results. But that's the same reason why you see guys that have been in the industry for 10 years and have never made the money that some guys who've been in their second summer are making, right? It's just because the guys in the second summer took the time. So just because you're an experienced rep doesn't mean you're a qualified rep or a master, at your craft, right?
Absolutely.
It's the people that
Yeah.
are masters of the craft that expedite the learning curve. And it's like, again, like you see guys that have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years and are still a rep, right? Which, hey, if you want to be that, for sure. But a lot of it's because they don't have the skill set to be anything else, to be anything bigger. And just because they never taken the time, right? So they think, oh, as long as I get more experience and I keep coming out every summer and I keep working all the hours and I keep working every year, I'm just going to get better. It's like simply not the truth, right? Simply not the
Yeah.
truth. And you see that in the industry is, you got guys that have been in and doing it forever that still haven't really accomplished anything. No disrespect to them, but it's just simply because they haven't been willing to sacrifice short-term gratification for long-term and just say, hey, I'm going to really grind for 6, 12 months, put my head down, put my head in the sand to then go see explosive results. Instead, I'm going to kind of be interested, kind of be one foot out for the next 10 years, and they never go in and capture it. And then what do? Oh, it's the industry's fault. The solar's dead. The alarm
Uh-huh.
sucks. Sales isn't it. No one makes money in sales, right? They start pulling external factors on why they're not succeeding because they can't just be honest with themselves, right? Like in my opinion, one of the hardest skills you can be as a human being is being honest with yourself and actually having real self-reflection, saying, hey, what can I be doing better in the situation, rather than, hey, what did XYZ, what did he do to hurt my situation, or how the market hurt my
Mhm.
situation? It's like, no, there's always something I could do more, whether I'm having a ton of success, there's always something I could be doing more, or I'm having no success and getting stomped on. Like there's always something I can be doing better. And I think that's the guys who are really killing it in the game. It's all about self-reflection and understanding that, there's always a time to learn from your mistakes and learn from your wins. But if you don't take the time to reflect and learn from those, then you're not getting that skill set. You're not sharpening that sword. You're just simply going through the motions and hoping that because you're in the field longer and you've been doing it longer, you're just going to have catapulting results, which is just simply, in my opinion, right, not true. It's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And something that you made me think of when you were saying that is, you know, I don't know what the exact stat is, but I'm just gonna say 5% because that's what I'm thinking of right now. 5% of salespeople make all of the money. The other, the 90%, the 95% of sales reps, and it doesn't matter the industry, right? It's like every industry, it's like the 5% of people make all of the money in sales, and the rest are kind of just like you said, making it or doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results when they're not getting better. They're not changing their skill set
We have the
and
80/20 rule, right?
reflecting. Yeah.
20% of the guys will make 80% of the money, 80% of the guys will make 20% of the money, and it's just human nature, right? You'll have 20% of the guys that wanna be a leader, and you'll have 80% of the guys that are cool with being stagnant and being sales reps. That's just a part of the game. You can't expect everyone to wanna be the top achievers, and there's places for everyone, right? Like, there's places for the guys that only wanna do a couple of deals a month and, make a couple grand a month, and they're happy with that, which, kudos to them, right? It's just I'm not that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
But kudos to those guys, like, it's no shame either
Absolutely.
way. It's just some guys want more, some guys want less, but their work typically shows, right? You want more, you're going to do more. It's all about leading from the front. It's all about, you know, not talking about it and being about it. And so as someone that wants more and wants to make that 20% of or, 80% of the money as the top 20%, like typically you see it in their actions. Because it's what they're doing consistently without someone telling them to go do it, right? They're reading the books, they're having self-development, they're getting the mentorships, the personal trainers, those things without someone saying, hey, I think you're fat, you should go get a trainer, right? Hey, I think you're not skilled, you should go read a book. It's like they're just doing it because they're having that self-reflection that, hey, I don't like the way I look. I should go, take action on this and get a trainer. Hey, I don't like that I haven't had any success in sales. Maybe I should go read a sales book or watch a YouTube video, right? They're just taking that upon themselves. And that's why they see the success is because it's all self accountability. And that's where this is a personal development job that has a paycheck attached to it. That's all this is. And the ones that don't personally develop have a smaller paycheck, right? The ones that,
Yeah.
are really, really big in personal develop have a larger paycheck and everywhere in between, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so good. Internal mastery, man. If you don't master the internal, you're not going to master the external and your results. And also, the people, like you said, that the house doesn't have to be burning down for you to actually want to change. That the people that are excellent, the people that are like exceptional at anything, it doesn't matter if the house is burning down. They want to improve. They want to get better. Like they're getting out of the house before it's even freaking warm in there, right? They have a internal clock that is like, no, I got to change. I got to expand, which to your point is very important if you want to be the 20%, right?
Right,
So,
you're either getting better or getting worse, right? There's no staying the same, and I think everyone understands that, but people don't
mhm,
really conceptualize that, right? If I'm not constantly getting better, constantly working my craft, constantly reading, constantly personally develop, because I'm already there, I've already had success, I'm already having success, and I stop developing, what you start to realize is you start to regress, right? There's no staying the same. And so it's like I have to be developing because if I'm not, I'm getting worse, right? And for me as a competitor, like I know if I'm not doing it, someone that I'm competing with, either externally or internally, is doing it. The ones that are at a high level are doing it. So it's like, if I'm not doing it, they're increasing that gap they are away from me, and I just I'm not a guy that is okay with that. But some guys are. But like you'll see the guys that
yeah,
have been here for 5 years and their first year had a ton of success and they never got any better. They stopped getting better. Well, they've actually gotten a lot worse, and that gap between them and all the guys that are top performers just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until they have that self realization that, oh man, like I kind of haven't read a book in a year. I haven't watched a video in months since I was a rookie, right? Stuff like that. The
yeah,
guys that do it at a high level, they're 10 years in, they're still reading books, self-developing, and constantly working and grinding. It's like, some of the guys that are making $1 million a month, for most people, they'd be like, okay, I'm good. I've done it. But they're like, okay, well, I met that benchmark. How can I get to 10 million, 20 million, right? Like, and that's the whole goal. It's like, hey, once you're there, great. Now we have to extend the goalpost even farther. Like, I've reached my goal. That's awesome. Well, now where's my new one, right? It's constantly trying to achieve something. Cause that's the thing is if you don't have any goals, right, then of course you're not going to go do anything. Cause you don't have, if I have no goal, nothing to strive for, there's no reason to personally develop. There's no reason to get any better because I've already achieved what I was set out to do, and I never set a new one, right? I was like, "Oh, I did it."
mm,
That was fine. So,
yeah. Yeah, progress is happiness, right? I mean, you have to be progressing to be happy. So, to your point, I mean, there's always the next, and sometimes that sounds like a lot to people. Like, man, I always have to, set the next thing. That sounds depressing, but it's like, no, I mean that's the issue. Is it will be depressing if you don't set the next thing. It really will.
well, it's about the
And you
journey,
don't
right?
want
Not the
that.
destination.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about the journey and the things you learn along the way. Like, everyone will tell you, yeah, everyone wants to make 100,000 bucks, but once you make it, it's like, oh, this is it, right? There's no parade, there's no congratulations, there's no pat on the back, right? And so it's like you think that the accomplishment you're looking for is the thing, but the accomplishment is the journey to get that thing, the person you had to be that thing. Do I look myself in the mirror every single day and say, hey, I'm worth making $1 million a year, making $1 million a month? If the answer is no, then I've got to either rechange my goals and set lower standards for myself, or I've got to be a better version of myself to be able to go achieve those goals, right? So like once you
Hmm.
achieve the thing, typically it's not as fulfilling as you thought it was going to be. Right, once I achieved being a regional manager and doing all these accounts, like, there was no parade, there was a short, like, "Hey, dude, you're killing it," and after that, everyone forgot about you, right? But the thing that, you fall in love with is, like, what it took, the grind, the grit, the skills you learned to be able to accomplish that, and those are things that no one can ever take away from you, right? Like, for me, I lost my whole team, and all that kinda stuff, but the things that no one could take away from me, they can take the numbers, they can take the team, they can take all that, but they can't take the skill that I learned along the way, so that when I go to duplicate it again, is I'm gonna do it a lot faster. I'm gonna do it a lot more efficient. I'm gonna have a way more solid foundation to be able to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Right? Don't making the same mistakes twice.
Mm, man, that's super powerful. Yeah, learning from your mistakes, being able to pivot and not make the same mistake. And yeah, there's just a difference between people that look at their past and be like, okay, what can I learn? How can I get better from it? Or just letting it crumble and crack you and be like, you know what? This isn't for me, and just packing your bags and giving up, right? Everybody has that moment where they have to decide what path they're gonna choose. And yeah, we already know that giving up is not gonna get you where you wanna go. Like it's just not.
Well, human nature, you want to go back to what was comfortable, right? Like, oh, that was comfortable being a rep, right? Like you're gonna get into a manager, and one of my mentors right now is teaching me this. It's like you're gonna get into a leadership position, you're gonna suck, right? You're gonna suck really bad, and you're gonna want to go back to what was comfortable before, which is being a top performer, right? Because typically, if you're a top performer, it's how you get into leadership, and so you're gonna be a really, really shit, cruddy leader, And because you're a cruddy leader and you're not used to being bad at something, all you want to do is, for guys that aren't top achievers, like they just want to revert back to the last thing they felt that was good. The last thing they felt like, yeah, I'm crushing it, which was being a really good sales rep. And that's what happens. You get to be a leader, you get kicked in, and then you go back to being a sales rep, and you never want to go back to being a leader again, right? You never want to step back into those waters because you're like, well, I know I'm going to feel bad. I know I'm going to suck. It's like, well, yeah, you sucked when you were first a sales rep on your first day knocking doors too, right? But then eventually you became a master of it, right? So just same thing with leadership is like, you are going to suck. Same thing with working out. You are going to suck, right? But it's like, you have to suck in order to get good. And most people will say, oh, I don't know how to work out, so I'm just never going to go to the gym. Well, how are you going to go achieve your goals of fitness and health and things like that if you never even start? Right? And it's like the saying Tony Robbins would say one time, it's like, I can't do 100 push-ups until I do one, right? Like I can't possibly say I'm gonna go run a team of 100 until I run a team of five, right? And I lose that team of five, and I do it again. I lose that team of 10, and I do it again, right? Like it's just all about like I've got to start at one before I can get to two. But most people just they start at one, they fail at one, and they go back down to zero and never want to try again, right? And that's the biggest thing is anyone who's a top performer, they have tried and failed more times than people have even tried, right? I've failed more times than most people have even given it a chance, and that's where top performers, anyone that's a top leader can attest to. It's like I've had more bad days, bad weeks, bad months than you've even had weeks, months, or years, right? Like I've had more bad ones than you even had them at all, right? And so
Yeah.
one of my mentors right now told me that when I was going through it, lost my team, was kind of feeling
Mhm.
sorry for myself for a while, and he's like, "Homie, like I've been doing this for 12 years. I've had more bad years than you've had years. I've lost more teams than you've even been in the industry. You know what I mean? Just put that in perspective to me. It's like I can either sit here and feel sorry for myself or just understand someone else has done it. Someone else has lost it all before and came back even stronger and built it to be even bigger than it was before. It's just, if again, it's just, is it going to be me or not? And if it's not, then I got
Yeah.
to reset my standard and say, hey, I guess I'm not as good as I say I am. I guess I don't want to achieve the things that I say I am, which is just not my personality, right? It's just, I'm going to figure out how do I going to achieve my goals and aspirations.
Yeah. That is so powerful and such a good way that you put it, especially you going through it, talking about losing your whole team and having to start over and yeah, you had that split moment where you're like, "Oh my gosh," like and I've been there too where I'm like, "I just don't wanna try again." I've already given it everything I thought,
Hmm.
right? I thought, and it's always that you do have more in the tank, and you're just being built, and if you believe in God, you're just, you believe that God's building you for that next version of yourself, and, yeah, that's super powerful. Okay, I have one more thing that I wanted to ask you about from your page, actually, and you mentioned what did you say? You said something about you could be absolutely dialed. You could say everything right. You could be on a sales call and give it all you got and studied and ready for this appointment, and you could still not get it, and you could still lose the deal. And I just wanted to hear your perspective on that. And then you said on the other hand, you could go in and not do the best job, or it felt like you didn't, and get the deal. What was your point on that, and kind of expound on that?
Yeah, it's actually funny. So that because it's our door to door twins page, that was actually my twin
Yeah.
brother. But I will speak on that. So he looks like
Okay,
me.
okay. Oh, man, okay.
Speak on that because you asked. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of those things where it's like, some people you give everything you can, right? You try to, at the end of the day, if you sell a product you believe in, like you're trying to put this person in a better position, right? My job is not to convince you to do something because convincing you is basically trying to get you to do something that I want you to do, right? My job is to persuade you to do something, which is basically persuading you to do something that you know is best for you, but to do it right now, right? And so it's just the idea. It's like I can do everything, but sometimes people just aren't ready, right? And that's why sales, I think, is all timing. Because some people are like, "Hey, dude, I was waiting for you to come, right? I was waiting for you to come by, and you had the worst sleep of your life, not be dialed, not have the process dialed, not even be prepared, and they'll buy regardless. It doesn't matter what comes out your mouth. And those people that just aren't ready for things, and that's why it's why it's like sales is it's very interesting because it really is a timing thing. Like it's all about it's the right place, right time. It's sell everyone that's supposed to be sold, sell no one that's not. My job is not to convince you to do something that I want you to do, right? And that's where like a lot of representatives and people that are new, they get like what they call that sales breath, right? Everyone's heard it before, and it's because I'm trying to make money off you, so I want you to buy my product because I want you to buy it, right? But when you come and you detach from the outcome of getting a sale and you attach to the outcome of, I want to help this person put themselves in a better position. They just need me to hold their hand to get them there. They need someone to kind of push them over the hump, like a trainer, like someone like that, saying, hey, like, you're the one that want these goals. I'm just gonna be the one that holds you accountable. And those are the people that you need to sell, right? Or you need to persuade, because they want it. They just need someone to basically reconfirm that is a good decision. And that person is you, because you're the expert, you're the one that has the experience. But then that person that you do everything, you try to persuade them, but they're not ready to act on it, and it's not their decision. If they buy, it's because you told them to, and that's never a
Mm.
good decision for the homeowner to make or a client to make. And so that's the whole idea. It's like, some people just aren't ready. Like, there's people that it takes time to see other people doing it. It's like people in sales, right? Like, you're trying to recruit your buddies or your friends or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, well, once you make the money, then I'll come." Right? There's people that are like that in when you're selling the product to them. Once someone else sees the success, once someone else loses the fat, once someone else, has solar and gets a $0 bill, then I'll finally make that leap of faith. It doesn't matter what I say to them. I could have the perfect word tracks, been so prepared, so dialed, and they're just not a person that's an early adopter. They're not going to be the first to try it. They're not going to be the guinea pig, right? And then there's
Mhm.
people that want to be the guinea pig and say, hey, I don't know none of my friends. They're all fat, but I want to be the first one to lose weight. So I'm going to be the first one that gets on program, right? Then there's going to be that one fat friend, no offense to that guy, who wants to see all his fat friends lose weight before he finally does it. Like, he just needs that conviction. He needs that extra convincing. And that's how it is in sales, right? There's people that want to be the last one to do it, and there's people that want to be the first one to do it, and there's people in between. And so that's kind of
Mm.
what that was hitting on. It's like, and that's why sales is all about being consistent, right? If you're consistent with your scripts, your training, all that kind of stuff, I just show up every single day. I can't tell someone to do it or not, right? All I can do is I can bring everything I possibly can, say everything I possibly can to persuade them to making what I think is the right decision. At the end of the day, though, it is their decision, right? So I'm not a guy that's gonna, twist someone's arm to buy my product. I think I sell a product that is very it sells itself, and that's why I'm still in solar. But with that being said, some people just aren't ready to do that. So that's kind of what that was about, is like, as long as I'm dialed and I'm so consistent and I do the same thing every single time, and I know it yields results, then I can fall out of love with the outcome of getting deals, because I know they're going to happen regardless, because my systems, my processes are so dialed. I'm just going to sell to people that want to be sold and want the product I'm offering. And, the people that don't, they don't, right? And then they're gonna wait for everyone else, all their friends to do it, and then they're finally gonna take action, which is fine, right? It's all timing.
Yeah. First of all, that's hilarious that that was your brother.
Mhm.
Yeah, these twin brothers, all right?
Yeah.
So give me a break there, but no, that was a great explanation of that, and I need to have your brother on cam one of these times as well. We'll get him on here. But okay, so what I heard from you there was non-neediness, and you're persuading them to make that decision for themselves right now. And that is very powerful and such a great point in sales, because I've definitely seen it's such a balance of non-neediness and persuasion, but them persuading themselves to make that decision right now, not next week, next month. I need to think about it, I need to pray about it. No, right now, like persuading them right now. And there's power in that.
Well,
So
people
yeah,
think
that was a great
sales is like
explanation.
such a a malicious act, right? Everyone thinks of a salesperson, they're like, oh
Absolutely.
my gosh, they're like, there's these scumbags, whatever. Like, yes, they're that.
Mm-hmm.
They are, for sure, some of them. But
Mm-hmm.
the good ones are the ones that get you to understand or give you a perspective that you maybe didn't comprehend before, to basically deliver the message in a different way, right? Because if I only made decisions based off my thought process, yeah, I'll have a lot of limiting beliefs. I'll have a lot of limited decisions. I'll make a lot of wrong decisions, right? There's a lot of decisions you'll make that are wrong because you don't have someone else to influence your decision, or you can't learn from someone else's experience, right? And so at the end of the day, it's all about that, where it's like, yeah, people just get how this like malpractice when it comes to sales. It's like, not all salespeople are bad. The problem is bad ones give us a bad rep. But yeah, if you're selling a product you believe in, you believe provides a service, like, it's your duty to persuade them to do it. Like, that's why they're on the call, right? When someone jumps on the call, like, they're not just out here just jumping on random consultation calls for fun, right? They jumped on it because they have a problem. It's just your duty as a sales professional to uncover that problem, uncover those problems, and basically say, hey, you have these problems. I have the solution. Why don't we just act on it and solve your problems right now? right? But the reason why salespeople suck is because they never uncover the problems. They just shove the product down their throat and say, "Hey, you should buy it," right? But I don't even know if this solves your problem, right? So anyone that's really good at sales, anyone that does it with I'm lost of track of words, but anyone who does it with integrity and has a moral value to themselves, my job is to figure out if my product even makes sense for you because it might not, right? But
Yeah.
in your situation, like fitness and stuff like that, it's so easy to correlate. It's like, okay, well, you said you're fat. You said you can't go play with your kids. You said you want to be able to sleep better at night. Well, I've got a meal plan. I've got a step-by-step guide you can follow that will solve all those problems because these are 5 other client testimonials that said those problems were solved. So it just makes sense we move forward today, right? And it's like, but if you're saying, "Oh, I don't have problems with this, and that. I don't even know if I need to work out." It's like, then why are we on this call, right? We're only on this call
Yeah.
because you feel like you have a problem. And so, in my personal belief, anyone that books a sales call is a quality client because they're not just jumping on an hour call to waste their time and just learn more. No one's ever here to learn more. They're just saying, "Hey, you need to ask me questions. I'm going to give you my problems. It's up to you if you're going to give me a solution that I think makes sense for my situation." Right? And that's what happens is people like to do a blanket sale where I sell everyone the same way. It's like, well, not everyone has the same problems, right? So it's like I
Yeah.
have to uncover those problems, and that's why anyone who sells at high level has a question-based selling process where it's, I'm going to get you to tell me that you have problems, and then I'm gonna tell you, hey, you have these problems. This is a solution I have to offer. Is that something you feel like would solve your problems? And 9 times out of 10, if you do a really good job discovering those problems, they're gonna say yes every single time because they're on this call because they have problems. So a lot of people are like, oh, they weren't a buyer, they weren't this, they weren't that. It's like, homie, if they're listening to you and they book a call with you, they're a buyer. It's just you just didn't do your job as a salesperson to get their problems to be solution.
Oh my gosh, that was a masterclass in sales right here, dropping some heat, Casey. No, and to add on to that, just with what you said with the problem, I think the best salespeople dig into the problem with a freaking knife, and they cut it open and slice it and make it hurt so bad. Because I used to just find the problem and then give them the solution. I'm like, oh great, they have a problem. I'm ready to sell. No, they have to be bleeding out in terms of like their problem has to be, I have to solve this right now. That's the pain I'm feeling because
Yeah.
of the problem. And it may sound, oh, that's aggressive. Well, no, like you're helping them though, because you're getting them to solve this problem that could become a major issue if they don't do it right now.
Well, and that's why I
That's
say
at least how I look at it.
sales is a skill game too, because if you're not skilled, you're basically hurting people more than you're helping them, right? Like you not selling
Uh-huh.
someone, in my opinion, and this could be a delusional salesperson opinion, but in my opinion, you not selling someone is a disservice to them because they're on the call and you can't persuade them to make that decision now. Well, now they're going to look back in a year and say, man, I wish I would have made that decision, right? Someone who looks back and they gain another 5 pounds this year, like, man, I really wish I would have hopped on program last year. But that sales rep never did a great job at basically uncovering my problem, so I hopped on, right? Most people regret it, right? Especially in my industry, you talk to someone who didn't go solar 10 years ago, and they're like, "Yeah, I wish my buddy bought solar for 20,000 bucks." It's like, "Well, dude, homie, there's 60 grand now," right? The exact same system. It's like, it's because that sales rep you sat down earlier couldn't get the value, couldn't uncover your problems and then show the value of
Mhm.
the product. And now you're paying for it long term. And that comes to fitness, that comes to, pest control, whatever you're doing, right? Like people aren't going to solve a problem until they see it or you uncover it. So until they
Yeah.
self-diagnose, people make change for 2 reasons, right? Inspiration or desperation. The desperation is the problem's already here and I've got to make change, right? It's like gas in California is $7 a gallon. People are probably starting to look at EVs, right? Well, now
Mhm.
EVs are through the roof, right? Like we should have bought an EV when gas was $3, right? Or I
Mm.
make it through inspiration, which is because someone inspired me, someone persuaded me to make that decision before things got bad. And that's where sales is that same game. It's like if you don't sell someone, you're simply doing them a disservice because they want to be sold, right? They just want someone to give them that reassurance that this is the right decision that they're making. Because they didn't want to be sold, they wouldn't be on the call at all. And I'm a firm believer of that. Especially we do like a set or close or an appointment setting. No one's setting an
Mhm.
appointment, no one's booking a call if they don't want to make a decision. Have to know that you're the right person they're making a decision with, and they have to trust that you're actually going to get them the results you're saying. And that's where good salespeople or ask questions and let them sell themselves and say, and then also show what they've done for previous clients to put the two together. Say, hey, you got these problems. Some other people that I've helped had the same problems, and these are the results they were able to find. Let's get you also in that pool of people that are able to see success. right? And so all the reason people don't make decisions because they don't trust you to solve their problems.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I completely agree with that mindset and that frame. That is a good way to go on into a call. I mean, they're not there for no reason, and you have to find the reason, and that's what makes it worth. Like that's why you're there. Absolutely.
Yeah, Hermosi does a
One
really
thing.
good job at that for
Go ahead.
sure. Like I said, Hermosi does
Yeah.
a really good job, and that's kind of where I learned that from. It's just like it's just being super, super genuine when you're doing sales. It's like, dude, you're not on here
Totally.
just hopping on consultation calls 10 hours a day just to learn a bunch about a bunch of stuff you don't care about or don't want to, solve your problems. Like you're only hopping on this call, taking time out of your day, and taking time out of your family time to like, yeah, to solve your problem. So, like I said,
Absolutely.
he's what's really taught me that, Alex Hermosi, because he's just really, really good at that, getting people to solve their own problems essentially.
That's great. Yeah, something I also wanted to mention is like if you're in sales and you don't believe that that's a good thing and that's a bad thing, you're already going to suck at sales. Like you have to put and I put sales as like, dude, it's like the greatest profession, the best thing you could do for someone, kind of like what you said, because you have to have that belief because it really is. Like you are really serving people and you are really taking care of people. And you can't have this mindset that sales is bad or whatever, like that's all a bunch of crap nonsense, right? You are serving at the highest level and you have to get better so you don't let people, continue in their ways with either with solar or fitness or whatever it is you're selling. Totally agree with that. All right, man. This has been fire. I know we're kind of going over on time here, so I want to wrap this up, but what I love asking this question at the end because it just gives me a good idea of there's so many different definitions of success. Everybody has their own definition. Everybody has their own mindset, and I believe it changes every single month for me, every week, like my definition. But I want to know from Casey, like at this point in your life, all the things you've been through, all of the things we talked about here today, and like what got you to this point, if you were to break it down into a couple sentences, or you're like, hey, this is what success means to me, this is what it is in my mind right now, what would you say that is for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it's having a bigger purpose than yourself, right? When someone can come to you, and that's why I do, sales or I do leadership, is someone come to you and say, hey, dude, like, I'm so, so grateful. And again, it comes back to sales. I'm so, so grateful you convinced me and persuaded me to come in this opportunity. And you really changed my life. Or, I've got little sisters and, there's a way they look up to me and as a role model for like the things that I do and how disciplined and how serious I take life and just to encourage them that, that anything is possible for them. So I guess the definition of success to me is like when people outside of yourself or like looking up to you or are grateful for your presence, right? Your being, right? And the true testament of a man or a woman is like when it's all said and done and you die, like how many people are your funeral, right? How many people did you have an impact on? Because you could make all the money, have all the success, quote unquote, financially, but if no one cares and you didn't lay a hand on anybody and you didn't provide value and you didn't, inspire people, then none of that matters, right? You can make all the money in the world, but you'll be incredible. That's why there's rich people that are incredibly sad and there's poor people that are incredibly happy because that has not really a ton to do with financial benefit. It's all about like the impact they're having and the perceived notion that people have on themselves. So yeah, I mean, just like that, it's just like how many people are you impacting on a day-to-day basis, on a yearly basis, on your lifetime basis? And are you laying a solid foundation? Are you being a good person to the world, right? Like, are you being a true member of society or are you hurting society, right? And so as long as I can continue striving to be like the top 1% of people that are adding value to society, whether that's my people, that's, the area I live in, my community, whatever, at the end of the day, like that's success to me.
Love that. Love it. Great way of wrapping it up, man. Casey, I appreciate you coming on. Just so you know, dude, you have had a huge impact on me, man. Like I watch you from afar, keep cheering for you. I want you to keep crushing it, keep doing your thing. And I remember running into you. We were in Phoenix, obviously, and I just knew there was something different about you, man. You're a leader, and you just have a great presence. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach you or your brother or work with you, what is the best way to do that? Should they follow your Instagram? I can tag whichever one you want me to in the show notes here.
Yeah, just tag my door to door twins, and that's just someone who's if you want to follow my journey. Like I said, I obviously everyone's gonna say they're not actively recruiting, but of course I am. But at the same time, like worst case scenario, like I'm a huge believer in like providing value without expecting anything in return. So, if you have questions or, if you need help running a team or you have questions how to build, how to sell, whatever, even if you don't directly work with me, like I love talking about it because it only improves my craft and gets me thinking more critically. Yeah, the door-to-door.twins account, if you want to see some satirical videos, some motivational videos, some educational videos, things like that. If you want to ask questions, like I said, that'd be a perfect spot to do so. And then you're going to get the insight from not only myself, but my twin brother, who have combined for, now 10 years in the door to door space and have had success in our own rights.
Awesome. Okay. I will tag that in the show notes, guys. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time.
My man, Quinn. Thanks, man. Take care.